It's the first time I've looked in my reflection today. It's always slightly boring. I had a tooth filled. My dentist called it tooth 14. Half my face needed to be numbed for the procedure, which surprised me as I didn't think it was that serious. In retrospect, I didn't really pay attention to why I needed the procedure in the first place. I'm just happy for any excuse to break up the week. After I walked down to the street on my way to the underground parking lot, which I hadn't seen as an adult, and it still made me feel as funny as it did when I was 7. As I made my way, I intersected with an old coworker from 3 jobs ago. I didn't remember much about him, nor did I particularly care when we worked together. I was drooling on myself and couldn't feel my upper lip, but I tried to be polite. I asked how he was, and he did the same, and when a lull happened, I tried taking it as an opportunity to get away. But out of nowhere, he says, "I met someone." I feigned excitement. "His name is Eric," he goes on. "Oh, wow," I say. I forgot he was gay. I also did not care. "He's so fucking hot," Robert says. He's serious, not light-hearted in his delivery, like he thinks about it deeply. I asked how long they had been together. He said they weren't. I tried to leave. I begin down the slope into the garage, and Robert begins to follow me. "I'm sorry," he says. I don't understand why he says this. "I'm sorry," he says again. "I whistled at you as you were walking away. I'm sorry." He stands close to me. I'm just waiting to have a feeling in my mouth again. "It's fine, Robert." "Are you going to tell Albertsons? I could get fired." I tell him I'm not going to tell Albertsons. He seems frightened. He starts walking back into the cloudy late morning. I consider asking if he wants to touch my butt, but only for his sake. I get into my car and place the rubber frog I got from my dentist's treasure chest onto my dashboard. I think about Robert on the drive home. Later, I try having sex with Austin because I can. The novelty of being naked with another person hasn't worn off, even though I've been having sex since I was 15. I think it's because I've never gotten over this feeling of wanting to apologize to anyone that has to look at me. We're 69, and it makes me feel horny. I tried getting into my mask daddy mode, but today and all of the days lately, it makes me feel like I'm putting on some sort of Frankenstein men.com performance, and suddenly it's not me having sex, it's someone else. And that's the only way I can get through it sometimes. Fat fingers, I'm sorry. Last night, I tried setting up 2 guys on Grindr who both tried hitting on me. They both had abs and no neck fat, so I felt they'd be better suited with one another. One of them pressured me for a body photo, which I obliged to, if only so I could end the conversation. No one that looks like that could ever want me. I'm an optimist, not a fool. I didn't deter him. He asked if he could meet me, and I didn't reply. I assumed he was some sort of bot, but in my deep within, behind my gut, tucked under my lower ribs, I'd like to think that someone like that could like someone like me. In a fit of mania, I eat 2 sandwiches and eat a handful of garlic tater tots. I'm not fond of tater tots, usually which is how I can tell my void is widening. My dog ate something questionable on our walk, and I had to reach into his mouth to grab it like he has a history. My dog ate something questionable on our walk, and I had to reach into his mouth to grab it as he has a history of seizures. And I decided these 2 things were somehow connected. He had already swallowed, so all I had to show for myself was half a stick that fell out of his mouth and onto my palm, and his thick saliva that stuck all over my fingers, keeping them together. I finally confirmed my email to create my Pornhub account. I wanted to be able to like comments and save videos, but Austin said that it was insane. I explained that in an attempt at anonymity, I used my student email instead of my main account. He says this is more insane. Something about depression always hits harder on a Tuesday. I'll spend 3 hours writing and not be able to feel any of it move through me. It just becomes a test with essay questions. It leaves me dejected and afraid. But then for 20 minutes, at 10:30 p.m., I'll feel it all move around me like a projector staring at my face. And then I remember why I became a writer and why it's the only option.